Tyrion Lannister had always been a man of sharp words and quiet thoughts. Sitting in his chambers in the Red Keep, drinking his usual cup of wine, he stared at the fire. His mind was not on whores or books tonight. It was on Eddard Stark, the man sitting in the black cells of the dungeons below, wrongly accused, broken, and about to die. Tyrion didn't like Ned. They were too different. Ned was all honor and duty, while Tyrion believed in surviving. But he also wasn't blind. He had seen the way Joffrey smirked when they dragged Ned out in chains. He saw the look in Cersei's eyes, cold and proud. And he remembered the moment when Ned had chosen mercy for Cersei's children and warned her to flee before Robert returned. That man didn't deserve a traitor's death. Tyrion had played the Lannister game long enough, but this time it felt wrong. He had spent the last few days gathering whispers from Varys and bribing some guards. Varys didn't ask questions, he never did, but Tyrion could tell he knew more than he was saying. Saving Ned Stark? Varys had said, raising an eyebrow. That's a dangerous game, my lord. Tyrion only smiled and said, well, I do love a good game. One night, under the cover of darkness, Tyrion went down to the dungeons. The guards he paid were waiting, nervous. One of them opened the gate. The stench of the place was awful, wet stone, rot, and hopelessness. Ned was barely conscious, his beard messy, his clothes torn, and blood dried on his face. Tyrion stood outside the cell for a moment. Lord Stark, he said softly. Ned opened his eyes, slow and tired. What do you want, Lannister? Come to mock me. Tyrion crouched beside him. Actually, I came to give you a choice. Stay here and die a martyr, or escape, live, and maybe one day see your daughters again. Ned didn't answer. He looked at Tyrion like he was mad. Maybe he was. I know you're a man of honor, Tyrion said. But honor doesn't mean anything if you're dead and your children suffer. Joffrey will not stop. He's not just cruel, he's stupid. That's the most dangerous kind of ruler. Why would you help me? Ned asked. What's in it for you? Tyrion sighed. Let's just say I'm tired of playing for the wrong team. And maybe, deep down, he just wanted to prove that not every Lannister was a monster. The plan was simple, but risky. Tyrion had arranged for a ship to be waiting at the Blackwater. Varys had whispered the right words into the ears of certain sailors. All they had to do was get Ned out of the Red Keep without being seen. As the hours passed, Tyrion wondered if he had finally gone mad. If Cersei found out, if Tywin ever heard, he'd be lucky to lose just his head. But Tyrion kept thinking about Sansa and Arya, about how this war was getting darker every day. Maybe saving Ned Stark could stop what was coming, or maybe not. But it was worth a try. That night, Tyrion returned to the dungeons. He handed Ned a hooded cloak and a small dagger. This is your only chance, he said, and together, a Lannister and a Stark walked through the shadows of the castle, away from the lies, the power games, and into a dangerous freedom neither of them fully understood. The cold night air hit Ned Stark like a slap as they stepped out into the narrow back corridors of the Red Keep. His legs were weak from weeks in the dungeon, and every step was pain. Tyrion kept glancing behind, whispering quick instructions. Stay low, don't speak, and whatever happens, don't run unless I do. Ned had to trust him, even though every part of him still wanted to believe Tyrion had some hidden plan, some trick. But the man beside him looked tense, not smug, not drunk with power like his sister or that little devil Joffrey. Tyrion was sweating, scared even, and that made Ned believe him more than any words could. They passed 2 guards posted near the stables. Tyrion nodded at them quickly, and they let them through without a word. Paid off, Ned made a mental note. You really bought everyone in this damn castle? He muttered. Tyrion smirked. Not everyone, just enough. As they reached the stables, a horse was already saddled and waiting. Not 2 horses, just one. Ned paused. What about you? Tyrion shook his head. I stay. If I vanish too, they'll know this was me. They'll hunt me and you both. This way, they might think you bribed your own way out. A lie. That's what I'm good at. Ned hesitated. The last man he ever expected to owe anything to was a Lannister. But now here he was, bleeding, broken, about to ride to freedom, thanks to the imp of Casterly Rock. Just as he reached for the reins, a sound cracked the silence. "Stop!" It was a shout, sharp and familiar. They both turned. Sir Meryn Trant, gold cloak shining under the moonlight. And behind him 2 more guards. Not bribed ones. Ned grabbed the dagger Tyrion had given him. His legs weren't steady, and his arms were weak, but he wouldn't go back to that cell. Not again. Not alive. Before he could move, Tyrion stepped forward. "He's mine," he snapped. Lord Tywin ordered him transferred. Sir Meryn laughed. "Funny, the Queen gave me different orders." Tyrion's eyes narrowed. "Then take it up with the Hand. You're not the Hand." Tyrion reached into his cloak fast. For a second, Ned thought he was drawing a sword. But instead, Tyrion threw something small and glass to the ground. A sharp boom echoed. Smoke exploded around them. "Run!" Tyrion shouted. Ned jumped on the horse, kicked hard, and galloped into the night, coughing through the smoke, ears ringing. Behind him he heard shouts, steel clashing, Tyrion yelling something he couldn't make out. Then silence. Ned rode hard, pain stabbing through his ribs, head spinning. He didn't know where he was going, only that he couldn't stop. He reached the Blackwater shoreline as the first light of dawn painted the sky pink. There, hidden behind a cluster of crates, was a small ship with black sails. A man stood at the dock wrapped in a dark cloak. He held up a lantern and whispered, "Stark?" Ned nodded. The man waved him on, no questions asked. As the ship pulled away from the dock, Ned stood on the deck, wind whipping through his hair. King's Landing grew smaller behind him. He didn't know if Sansa was safe, or Arya, or what Tyrion had paid for this. But he was alive, and someone had given him that chance. Someone who should have been his enemy. Back in the Red Keep, chaos had broken out. Cersei stood in the throne room, face pale with fury. How the hell did he escape? She screamed. Tyrion, bloody and bruised, stood before her. He'd taken a punch to the face from a guard when he discovered the escape. He played his role well. "Don't ask me," he said. "Ask your bloody guards. I was asleep when they came banging on my door." Cersei didn't buy it. Not fully. But she had no proof. And the worst part for her. Ned Stark had vanished without a trace. King's Landing buzzed with rumors. Some said Varys had freed him. Others blamed Littlefinger. One drunk even claimed a dragon took him. Joffrey wanted heads. "I want someone dead before sunset," he screamed. Cersei nodded slowly. "Then find his daughters." Tyrion's heart sank. He had saved one life, but he feared he had just placed 2 more in danger. Still, the game had changed now. War was coming, whether they liked it or not. And for the first time in his life, Tyrion Lannister had chosen a side that wasn't his family's. He only hoped he wouldn't live to regret it. The sun had barely risen over King's Landing when word spread like wildfire. Ned Stark had escaped. Guards were scrambling. Ravens were flying. And within the Red Keep, whispers turned into shouts. Sansa Stark was dragged from her chambers by 2 gold cloaks. Her screams echoed through the halls. "Where is my father?" "What have you done?" Cersei stood at the top of the stairs, calm and cold. "Your father is a traitor. And now, so are you, until proven otherwise." Sansa sobbed as they locked her in a tower. She was only a girl, but now a hostage. A message to the North Arya, on the other hand, was gone. Tyrion had made sure of that. 2 days before Ned's escape, he'd spoken to Syrio Forel, the Braavosi dancing master. He'd slipped him a bag of gold and whispered, "Get the girl out, quietly, now." Syrio didn't argue. And Arya had vanished that very night. Cersei was furious. One escapes and now another disappears. "I want the city turned inside out." Tyrion stood beside her, nursing a fake limp. "If you keep shouting, sister, the whole realm will know how badly you've lost control." She glared at him. "You think this is funny? I think it's dangerous. And I think it's only just beginning." That night, Tyrion sat alone in his chamber staring at a chessboard. The pieces were set, but the game had changed. His father would soon hear of the escape. Cersei was already planning to blame someone, and Varys had disappeared, likely gone underground to avoid being questioned. There was a knock. Bronn stepped in. A raven came. From the eyrie, Tyrion took the letter and read it quickly. His lips curled into something between a smirk and a sigh. Ned Stark had made it to the Vale. He was alive, for now, but war was now unavoidable. At Winterfell, Robb Stark stood frozen, the Raven's message in hand. Father escaped. Maester Luwin confirmed it twice. The message is sealed by Lord Arryn's widow. She confirms he arrived safely. Robb felt both relief and rage. Relief that his father lived. Rage that his sisters were still hostages. He turned to Theon Greyjoy. "Rally the bannermen," Theon grinned. "Finally!" Robb's voice was calm but cold. "We march south. Not for revenge yet, but we will bring Sansa home." In the Red Keep, Cersei moved fast. She summoned Sir Meryn Trant. "Go to the tower. Bring the girl." Sansa was dragged into the throne room, where Joffrey waited, sitting like a twisted little king, with a lion's smugness. He smiled at her. "Your father ran away like a coward. Do you miss him?" Sansa tried to be brave. "He's a better man than you'll ever be." Joffrey's smile dropped. "Maybe we should send him a message," he said. "Something personal," Cersei interrupted. "No, not yet. We still have use for her." Tyrion stepped forward. "Killing her won't bring back your pride, nephew." Joffrey scowled. "Why do you care, uncle? You always hated her." "I hate a lot of people. Doesn't mean I kill them." "That's your hobby." Cersei snapped. "Enough." "She stays alive. For now." But Tyrion saw it in her eyes. If Sansa stayed, she was a puppet. A message. Maybe even a future queen if they forced her. He needed a new plan. Later that night, Tyrion went to the dungeons. He wasn't looking for a prisoner. He was looking for Varys. He found him hidden in the darkest cell, reading a scroll. "You look well," Tyrion said dryly. Varys glanced up. "I thought it best to disappear for a day or two." The air was getting sharp. Tyrion got straight to the point. "You helped me save Ned, now help me save the girl." Varys raised an eyebrow. "Sansa?" "She'll be used. Married off, or worse. I can't protect her while she's in the Queen's hands." Varys leaned back. "Then you'll need help from someone who hates Cersei more than you do." Tyrion narrowed his eyes. "Who?" Varys smiled faintly. "Littlefinger." Tyrion's gut twisted. Petyr Baelish was a snake. But he was also useful. And if anyone knew how to slip someone out of King's Landing without a soul noticing, it was him. "I'll speak to him." Tyrion muttered. Varys said softly, "Be careful, my friend. The game is no longer about who sits on the throne. It's about who survives it." The next day, Tyrion met Littlefinger in the gardens. "I need the girl out," Tyrion said quietly. "Alive," Littlefinger chuckled. "Funny. I thought you Lannisters liked your toys caged." Tyrion didn't smile. "This isn't a game." "Oh, but it is," Baelish said, sipping wine. "And I always play to win." Tyrion leaned closer. "Help me get her out. And when the war ends, I'll owe you. Deeply." Baelish's eyes lit up at the word owe. He extended his hand. "You have a deal." But Tyrion knew deals with Littlefinger came with knives in the back. Still, it was a risk he had to take, because saving Ned wasn't enough anymore. Now, it was time to burn Cersei's world down, one piece at a time. The moon hung low over King's Landing, casting long shadows over the alleyways and towers. In the quiet hours before dawn, a hooded figure moved silently across the castle walls. It wasn't a guard. It wasn't a thief. It was Sansa Stark, slipping through the Red Keep with fear in her chest and hope in her trembling hands. Behind her walked a cloaked servant, short and quiet, face hidden under the hood. But it wasn't a servant. It was Tyrion Lannister. This was the night he had planned for days. The night he would break Sansa free. Everything had been arranged. Littlefinger had done his part, of course, for a price. He had bribed 2 stable boys and one of the kitchen maids. Varys had slipped sleeping powder into the wine of the guards at the western gate. Bronn was waiting outside the walls with horses, and Sansa. She had no idea if she could trust the imp, but she knew one thing: staying meant dying. "Are you sure this is going to work?" she whispered, hugging her cloak tightly. "No," Tyrion replied honestly. "But I didn't save your father just to watch you rot in a tower." She flinched. The memory of her father still hurt too much. They reached the western passage, a narrow corridor behind the kitchens, rarely used. As they stepped through, Tyrion paused. "Once we go down this stairwell, there's no turning back." Sansa nodded. "Let's go." But just as they moved, a voice called out, "Going somewhere?" Tyrion turned fast. His heart dropped. Sandor Clegane, the Hound. He stood there, leaning against the stone wall, eyes like fire in the dark. Sansa froze. Tyrion stepped forward, calm but firm. "She's leaving, Sandor. You don't need to stop her." The Hound looked at Sansa. Something strange flickered in his eyes. Not cruelty, not even loyalty to the Queen, just tiredness. "You Lannisters are always full of tricks," he growled. "And you, little bird, you're braver than I thought." Sansa said nothing. Her hand tightened around the small blade Tyrion had given her. Clegane sighed. "I didn't come to stop you. I came to say, don't come back." Then he stepped aside. Sansa blinked. "Why are you helping us?" He didn't answer. He just turned and walked away, vanishing into the dark like a shadow that had grown bored of the light. They hurried down the stairs and out through the old stable doors, where Bronn was waiting with 2 horses. Tyrion helped Sansa mount. "Where will I go?" she asked. "North, to the Vale. Your aunt is there. Your father is already on his way to meet you." Sansa's eyes widened. "He's coming there? He's alive?" Tyrion nodded. "I made sure of it." A tear rolled down her cheek, but she wiped it away fast. There was no time for crying. Bronn tossed Tyrion the reins. "You coming?" Tyrion shook his head. "No, if I vanish too, they'll know." "You two go." Sansa hesitated. "They'll kill you if they find out." "I'm a Lannister," he said. "They'll try, but I'm harder to kill than I look." She stared at him. She had hated his name, hated everything it stood for. But in this moment she saw him not as a monster, but a man. Flawed, small, clever, and maybe the only one who'd ever really tried to protect her. "I hope you survive," she whispered. Tyrion smiled sadly. "Me too." Then Bronn kicked the horse forward, and they galloped into the night, leaving Tyrion alone in the shadows. By morning, the Red Keep was a storm of panic. Cersei's scream echoed through the halls when she heard the news. "Sansa Stark is gone? Again?" She slapped the guard hard across the face. "Find her." "Dead or alive?" Joffrey snarled. "They're mocking us. My crown means nothing if I can't control a stupid girl." Tyrion played his role well, shocked, furious, asking questions like everyone else. "I warned you she might be a flight risk," he said calmly. "But no one listens to the dwarf." Cersei stared at him, suspicious. "You always warned me about everything," she said coldly. "One day, I'll start to wonder why." Tyrion just poured himself a drink. "Because I see what you refuse to. The more we grip, the more we lose." But he could feel it. His mask was starting to crack. Cersei wasn't stupid. She knew someone inside the walls had helped, and soon all eyes would turn to him. Still, it was worth it. Sansa was free, Ned was alive, and now the game was shifting, slowly. But surely against the Lannisters. But Tyrion also knew something else. Cersei would not stop until she had blood. 3 days had passed since Sansa escaped. King's Landing no longer felt like a city. It felt like a prison with golden gates and poisoned air. Every gate was locked. Every street was watched. Goldcloaks dragged people out of homes. Even servants were whipped if they didn't answer fast enough. Cersei was on a warpath. She didn't vanish alone, she hissed, slamming her fist onto the council table. Someone in this castle helped her. Someone close. Her eyes landed on Tyrion. He didn't flinch. "Oh, please. If I was going to help her escape, I'd at least make sure she left a thank-you note." But Cersei wasn't laughing. Neither was Joffrey, who paced like a child denied his favorite toy. "I want her head," he growled. "She humiliated the crown twice." Varys spoke carefully, as always. "Killing her, Your Grace, might only make the North hate us more. Lord Stark is alive, and if the rumors are true, he rides with men." Littlefinger nodded. "Robb Stark has already begun marching south. Quietly but fast. And now, with his father and sister alive, he'll come for blood," Tyrion finished. Cersei leaned back. Her voice dropped low. "Then maybe we take something of his. Something precious." "What?" Joffrey asked. Her eyes glinted. "The north." Tyrion's eyes narrowed. "You plan to strike first? We must, before they unite fully. Before they reach the Vale and join with the Arryns. We'll send a small force, burn villages, kill cattle, create fear, break their spirit before they reach our gates." Tyrion leaned forward, hands clenched. "You're about to start a war on top of a war," he said. "You've already lost Sansa. Ned's alive. Arya's missing. And the boy in the north is young but not stupid. You really think blood will scare wolves?" Cersei stared at him. "What would you have me do? Wait for them to knock down the gates?" "No," he said. "I'd have you think," but Cersei was done thinking. Now she was acting, and her first act? Target Tyrion. That night Tyrion's wine tasted different. He knew before he finished the cup, poison, not enough to kill, but enough to send a message. He woke up hours later, vomiting, drenched in sweat, Bronn hovering over him with a wet cloth. "They tried to kill you," Bronn muttered. "No," Tyrion croaked. "They tried to scare me. Next time they'll try harder." Bronn stared. "You still think you can win this game?" Tyrion gave a bitter laugh. "I never thought I'd win. I just thought I'd survive." He knew now that the walls were closing in. Cersei wasn't going to wait for proof. She already believed it was him. And eventually she'd make her move, so he had to move first. In the dark tunnels beneath the Red Keep, Tyrion met Varys again. "She tried to poison me." Varys raised an eyebrow. "I assume you didn't take it personally?" "I take everything personally now." Varys stepped closer. "Then it's time you stop playing defense." Tyrion nodded slowly. "Agreed." He looked up at the spider. "I want the city ready to fall." Varys tilted his head. "Fall to who?" Tyrion's eyes hardened. "To anyone but her." Far to the north, Robb Stark stood over a map in a candlelit tent. The message had come from the Vale. His father was alive, hiding in the mountains. Sansa was safe, on her way to meet them. Arya was still missing, but there was hope again, and hope was dangerous. "We ride to the Vale first," Robb said. "We unite with the Arryns. Then we march south with everything we have." The lords around him nodded. Even Theon looked impressed. "You think the Lannisters will sit and wait?" Theon asked. Robb stared at the fire. "No. They'll burn every village from here to the neck to stop us. But we'll show them what northern fury looks like." He turned to the Maester. "Send ravens to every bannerman. Tell them Winterfell rides again." Back in King's Landing, Tyrion stood on his balcony, watching the city burn slowly with fear. Below, the streets were restless. Bread riots, street fights, even whispers of rebellion, and deep in the dungeons, Tyrion had planted something else. Men, secrets, a spark. The moment Cersei made a wrong move, he'd light it. But for now, he had one last card to play. He sent a raven to the one man who hated his sister more than even he did, Stannis Baratheon. The letter read, "Your claim is weak, but her rule is weaker. If you want the throne, strike now. While she bleeds from within." He signed it. A friend in the Red Keep. The game had shifted again. Now there were more players, more blades and more fire. And Tyrion knew the truth. He had betrayed his family to save one man, but to survive the storm that was coming, he might have to betray the whole realm. The raven flew through the stormy skies, beating against the wind like a dying heartbeat. When it finally landed on Dragonstone, soaked and shaking, Stannis Baratheon read the letter in silence. His jaw tightened with each word. A friend in the Red Keep. A warning about Cersei. A chance to strike before her grip solidified. And the name at the bottom, unsigned. But he knew the writing, Tyrion Lannister. Sir Davos stood beside him.
"A trap?"
he asked. Stannis shook his head. "No, a desperate man telling the truth." Davos hesitated. "You trust a Lannister now?" "I trust my enemy to hate my enemies more than he loves his blood," Stannis muttered. "If the Queen burns, the realm needs a new king. I will not wait for Robb Stark or Renly to take it." He turned to his captains. "Ready the fleet. We sail before the moon changes." The war was about to gain a new player. Meanwhile, in the Vale, Ned Stark stared across the snow-covered mountains. He had seen death. He had survived betrayal. But now he saw something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. Sansa stood by his side, eyes brighter than they had been in months. She had arrived 2 nights earlier, exhausted and shivering but alive. Her reunion with Ned had been quiet. No words, only tears. They sat together in the small stone chamber of Lady Lysa Arryn, who eyed them with cold suspicion. "You brought war to my doorstep," she said, holding her son Robin close. "Why should I help you?" Ned looked her in the eye. "Because it's coming either way. The Lannisters will not stop. You know that," Lysa sniffed. "I know my sister married a fool who got himself killed by trusting honor more than sense." Sansa flinched at that, but Ned stayed calm. "You're afraid. I understand, but fear won't save you. It didn't save Robert. It won't save your son." Lysa's lips thinned. "And what would you have me do? Send men? Send banners? Or open your gates when the North comes through? Either way, don't stand in our way." Lysa didn't answer, but her silence was as good as a nod. Robb Stark was only a few days away now, and soon the Vale and North would rise together, back in King's Landing. Cersei was unraveling. She hadn't slept. Her paranoia had grown claws. She'd ordered 3 servants hung after discovering Sansa's escape had come from within the castle. She questioned maesters, slapped guards, and even accused Varys of treason to his face. But still, she had no proof, only suspicion. And Tyrion, he played his role with skill, drinking a bit more, speaking a bit less, watching everything. But he knew it was almost time to choose. He had sent ravens to every enemy of the Lannisters, stirred rebellion in the shadows, and now the capital was a powder keg. Bronn entered his chambers without knocking. The Queen's moved her son to the Tower of the Hand. She's taken full control of the Red Keep. Tyrion nodded. "She's preparing for siege. She's preparing for something worse," Bronn said. "She's meeting with pyromancers." Tyrion blinked. "Wildfire?" "Lots of it." Tyrion stood, his stomach sinking. "She'd burn the whole damn city before letting it fall." Bronn shrugged. "It wouldn't be the first time a Targaryen whore did something mad." Tyrion paced. "She's not mad. She's desperate, which makes her worse." He stopped suddenly. "We need to move faster." That night Tyrion met Littlefinger again, this time in the catacombs beneath the Sept of Baelor. "You've stirred quite the storm," Baelish said, smiling. "Even Varys seems impressed." "I'm not here to impress spiders." Littlefinger tilted his head. "What then?" "I want Cersei gone, fully, and I want her gone before Stannis arrives." Littlefinger laughed. "And how do you plan to do that? Push her off a balcony?" Tyrion leaned in. "I want her arrested publicly. I want the City Watch to do it. I want the people to see that even a queen is not above punishment." Baelish whistled. "You want to start a revolution?" "No," Tyrion said. "I want to finish one." Littlefinger paused, then smirked. "And when the queen falls, who do you think they'll look to next?" Tyrion looked away. He didn't want power. He never did. But maybe if power was the only way to survive, then it was time to stop hiding in the shadows. By the next morning, the first part of his plan was set. A city meeting was announced. A trial, a public arrest, and Cersei Lannister, Queen Regent, Lioness of the Rock, Mother of Madness, was about to walk into a trap laid by her own brother. Tyrion stared into the mirror. He no longer saw the dwarf who made jokes. To hide his pain, he saw something sharper now, not a wolf, a player. And in the Game of Thrones, players either win or they die. The bells rang out across King's Landing at noon, not for war, not for wedding, but for justice. At least, that's what Tyrion called it. The small folk gathered at the square before the great Sept of Baelor, whispers thick in the air. Rumors said the Queen was about to make a speech. Others said there'd be an execution. A few even said the king himself was dead, but only Tyrion Lannister knew the truth. Today was the day he'd strike the Queen. He stood beside Lord Commander Barristan Selmy at the front steps. Behind them, rows of gold cloaks stood in formation, but not under Cersei's command. These were loyal to the coin Tyrion had spent in secret for months. Bought men. Scared men. Men willing to point their swords wherever the wind was blowing, and today the wind was howling straight at Cersei Lannister. The queen arrived, dressed in red and gold, her long cloak trailing behind her. Beside her walked Sir Meryn Trant, and behind her Joffrey Baratheon, crown tilted, lips curled into that same cruel smile. Tyrion bowed slightly. "Sister," she didn't return it. "Why summon us to a street show like this?" Tyrion smiled. "So the city can see justice served." Cersei narrowed her eyes. "What game are you playing now?" He stepped aside, and Varys, dressed in black, stepped forward with a scroll. "The crown has been given testimony," Varys began, his voice calm and dry, "that Queen Regent Cersei Lannister did knowingly plan the murder of Lord Eddard Stark and conspire to poison members of the court to cover her treason." Cersei froze. The crowd gasped. "You dare—" she started. But Tyrion cut her off. "You broke the realm, Cersei. You turned children into prisoners. You fed chaos. And now you'll answer for it." Sir Meryn drew his sword, but before he could strike, half the gold cloaks turned on him, blades flashing. Meryn was dead before his sword hit the ground. Cersei screamed as she was seized. "You traitorous little beast! You Lannister bastard! This city will burn before it bows to you!" Joffrey ran, trying to flee up the steps, but Ser Barristan blocked his path. The boy shrieked, "I'm the king! I am the king!" Barristan didn't move. "No, boy. You were." The crowd exploded into noise. Cheers, gasps, chaos. Some cried out in joy, others in fear. For the first time in years, the streets of King's Landing saw a lioness brought low. Tyrion watched as Cersei was dragged, kicking and cursing, into the sept to await trial. The moment should have felt like victory, but all Tyrion felt was cold, because now the lioness was in a cage, and the mad cub was next. That night, the Red Keep was a battlefield of whispers. Joffrey had been placed under guard. Tyrion claimed it was for his safety, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before someone cut the boy loose from the world. Cersei, locked in a tower, refused food, and Tywin Lannister had received word. The Raven reached Casterly Rock before sunset, and the moment Lord Tywin read it, the moment he saw the words "Cersei arrested" and Tyrion acting as regent, the old lion roared, "Prepare." "The army," he said to Sir Kevan. "My son has lost his mind." "No," Kevan replied softly. "He may be the only one who hasn't, but Tywin's pride was a blade that cut deep, and he would not allow a dwarf to wear his house's name as a crown." Far across the Vale, Ned Stark stood atop a snowy hill with Robb, Sansa, and Lord Jon Royce. News had reached them. Tyrion had taken the city. Cersei was imprisoned. The king was guarded like a child. "What now?" Robb asked. "Do we march still?" Ned looked at the letter in his hands, a sealed message from Tyrion himself. "You are owed justice. Return, not with sword, but with truth. Let the realm see who really broke it." It was strange. The Lannister boy he once mocked for being drunk and clever had done what no one else could, brought the queen to her knees. "We ride to King's Landing," Ned said. "Not for war, not yet. But if this is true, then perhaps we finally have a chance to fix what they broke." Sansa nodded, her voice trembling. "Tyrion saved us." Ned stared at the horizon. Now we find out if he meant to save the realm, or simply rule it. In the darkness of his chambers, Tyrion poured himself wine and sat alone. He had risked everything. Family, power, safety to stop the madness, but he knew this wasn't the end. Tywin was coming, Stannis was sailing, and the people of Westeros had seen too many saviors to trust another one easily. Tyrion raised his cup to the fire. "To justice," he said, "and to the fools who think they can control it." The war was far from over, but the queen had fallen, and for the first time the game was his to play. Smoke rose over Blackwater Bay as ships with fiery sails crept closer to the shore. The fleet was massive, sails bearing the burning heart of Stannis Baratheon. War drums echoed across the water like a heartbeat, ready to explode. Atop the battlements of the Red Keep, Tyrion Lannister stood in silence. The city was his now. But peace, That was a dream swallowed by the sea long ago. Behind him, Sir Bronn adjusted his sword and muttered, "You sure the wildfire's ready?" Tyrion nodded. "Every barrel, every tunnel. If Stannis steps too close, he'll light up half the bay. And if he doesn't, then we die with a bang." Bronn grinned. "Fair enough." Tyrion turned to the skyline, his thoughts heavy. Cersei was locked away, her trial delayed due to the siege. Joffrey sat in his chambers weeping, screaming, begging to be let free. And Tywin? The old lion hadn't yet arrived, but everyone knew he was coming. From the west, an army marched. From the east, a fleet approached. And within the capital, chaos brewed like spoiled wine. Beyond the city walls, Ned Stark and Robb arrived under the banner of truce. They came not to fight, but to speak, escorted through the city by gold cloaks, now loyal to Tyrion's silver. It was strange to ride through King's Landing without fear. No one threw stones. No one shouted. Some even whispered, "The North has returned." In the throne room, the meeting was quiet at first. Tyrion rose to greet them. "Lord Stark, I hope the road was kind to your bones." Ned stepped forward slowly. "You wear power well, Lannister. Almost like you didn't trip over it," Tyrion smirked. "You taught me more than you think." They sat at a long table. Wine was served, untouched. Robb eyed Tyrion carefully. "Why bring us here? You could have just ruled in silence like the rest of your family." Tyrion leaned back. "Because I don't want the throne. I want the realm to survive. I want to stop the cycle. And I can't do that without the North." Ned stared. "You saved me once. You saved my daughter. But I've seen too many clever men turn cruel the moment they taste control." "I'm not cruel," Tyrion said quietly. "But I am done pretending that honor wins anything." He placed a scroll on the table, a list of terms. "Peace," he said. "A truce between the North and the Crown. Sansa is free. Arya will be found and returned if she's alive. The North will govern itself, without bending the knee. And Joffrey will abdicate." Robb raised an eyebrow. "And who replaces him?" Tyrion hesitated. "The realm will choose." For once, silence. Then Ned reached for the scroll. "And if we agree, then we fight Stannis together. But outside the walls." Stannis was not waiting. That night, under a moonless sky, his ships launched, hundreds of them, and from the cliffs above the bay, wildfire lit the night. A green explosion roared across the water, sending screams echoing into the heavens. Half of Stannis' fleet burned alive, ships breaking apart like toys in a storm. But it wasn't enough. Stannis had planned for fire. His troops hit the shore, ironclad and merciless, storming the gates by dawn. Tyrion rode into battle with Bronn, blood splashing his armor as he fought like a man with nothing left to lose. "Protect the gate," he roared. "No one enters the Red Keep." Inside the castle, Cersei laughed in her cell as the walls shook. "Let it burn," she whispered. "Let them all burn." Just when the battle seemed lost, horns blasted from the west. Tywin Lannister had arrived, but he didn't come for Tyrion. He came to take everything back. His army swept through the city like a storm, not saving it, but claiming it. Tywin entered the throne room as the fighting slowed. Tyrion stood, bloody and bruised, holding a blade in one hand, his crown of temporary power gone. "I saved your city," he said. Tywin looked at him with disgust. "You betrayed your blood. I stopped madness. You embarrassed this house. I stopped a queen who would have killed us all." Tywin didn't argue. He simply turned to the guards. "Take him." Tyrion was dragged through the same halls where Ned once walked in chains. But unlike Ned, he smiled because the realm had seen everything. The queen exposed, the boy king broken, the fire tamed, and the North standing tall and free. Weeks passed. Stannis fled to Dragonstone, wounded and bitter. Joffrey was removed, sent to live under guard in the countryside. Cersei was tried, her secrets laid bare before the people. She was not executed but exiled, never to return. And Tyrion, he was sentenced not to death, but to exile as well, a quiet deal, a ship, a name erased from court history. He sailed east, never looking back, but as the ship cut through the waves, he drank a final cup of wine and whispered, "I didn't win, but I didn't lose either." Because sometimes in the Game of Thrones, you don't have to take the crown to break the wheel. You just have to make sure no one like Cersei ever wears it again.